Have you lost the connection with your higher self? Are you noticing the dis-ease of the outside world? It's time to reconnect with nature and each other and raise our consciousness, vibration, and frequency. Together we can create a world of peace and abundance. It's Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I have an awesome guest today. She's a good friend, and we are excited to have her in the studio. I actually get to talk to someone today. It's so much fun live. Conder is her name. She has been a hypnotherapist for over 20 years and helps people with her hypnotherapy, and also is involved in the corporate world, dealing with, I think it's helping culture in companies, right?
We call ourselves the culture keepers. We're actually the employee engagement team.
So definitely has a lot of experience with helping people in a lot of ways. So we're excited to have her today. And I'm going to have her just maybe, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got into hypnotherapy and what you're doing there now and everything.
Fantastic. Yeah, about, the first time I saw anything that had to do with hypnosis was I don't know how young I was, but as a child, and there was a movie. And in this movie, they showed hypnosis, and I thought it was fascinating that you could put somebody essentially to sleep, or so it would seem, and that different behaviors may change or come about. And so that was my first introduction. And then about 20 years ago, just kind of made the decision that I wanted to do something to gain some additional knowledge and improve myself spiritually, find some internal peace. So I found a school locally in Salt Lake City, Utah, and signed up. So from there, I did some full-time work. I do it just kind of on the side now that I'm back in the corporate world, but I did get a lot of exposure to kind of the naturopathic world, lots of chiropractors, yoga masters, all the fun people that get to do alternative healing practices.
That's awesome. Hey, Sean, I don't know. I can't hear myself in my headphones at all. So I just want to make sure we're all good here before we go too much further. Oh, there I am. So I got Sean, our engineer here, putting us together. I don't know if you could hear you just fine, but I couldn't hear myself. So, all right. So tell us kind of how hypnotherapy works. Like, I think a lot of people, when they're talking, I know the first time I ever tried to get hypnotized, I was watching this show. They were putting us all on this stage, and I walked up, and I was in this long line of people, and he starts whatever he was doing and goes down the line and just kind of hits everybody. When he hit me, I'm just sitting there staring at him, and he's like, "It didn't work for you, did it?" I said, "No." And he makes me go back to the audience. I was embarrassed. But I was also nervous, right? Because I wasn't sure I wanted to be hypnotized, which is probably why it didn't work. So tell us a little bit about it and why that happens.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest myth about hypnotism is that I'm going to be controlled. And stage hypnotists do a great job of demonstrating really highly suggestible people doing what seem like crazy things. So the truth of it is nobody's being controlled. You would never make somebody do something that was against their code of ethics, as it were. And the other one is that I can't be hypnotized, right? Which is kind of what you experienced and you were fearful of. Everybody goes into a theta state of mind. That's where hypnosis lies, or meditation, maybe is a more familiar term. But everybody goes into a theta state of a mind. It's a natural state of mind for us. We go into that place 2 to 3 hours a day. It's just that when you're doing guided meditation or hypnosis, you're utilizing that state to receive positive suggestions, at least in a therapeutic environment. Not so much in a stage environment when you're clucking like a chicken, but.
Yeah, so I just had like 12 questions lined up here. So I'm going to hit you maybe a little fast and furious.
Sure.
So you say you can't make anybody do things like crazy, but I'm telling you, some of those people do some crazy stuff on the stage. So, I mean, I don't think I would want to do it.
Well, right. So think of it for those in your audience who maybe partake of a beverage now and again. There's a natural inhibition that takes place, right? So things that you may do after 1 or 2 alcoholic beverages would not be something you would normally do, right? But it's not against your personal code. So I may think it's great and funny to dance around like a chicken if my inhibitions are gone. And that's part of being in the theta state. However, I'm not going to go out and get in a physical altercation because that's against my personal code of ethics. Does that clarify it for you?
That helps me a little bit, and I probably, I think our audience too, because most people's experience probably with hypnotherapy or hypnotism really is seeing it performed by someone, right?
Yep.
So I was just thinking about theta state. Theta state is, 3 to 7 year olds are in a state of theta most of the time. They're not in a beta state like we are as adults or as you get past that stage, because that's a state where we can take a lot of information in, right? So really, you're putting, in hypnotism, you're putting people into a theta state, which is also the same state that when you're in a deep meditation you're in, right?
Exactly.
Unless we can get to gamma, which is awesome and does happen sometimes in meditation, but so maybe explain what theta state is to people. So
Definitely.
they understand.
Yeah, probably the best breakdown is to kind of go through the different states of your mind. So beta state, you're awake, you're alert, you're using your adult mind and functioning just like you would in a normal everyday environment. In that state of mind, your brain waves are actually cycling 14 plus times per second. So your brain's actually working much faster. An alpha state of mind would be the next step. Alpha is kind of a light sleep or a daydreaming meditation. That's when you're driving home and you pull in your driveway and you're like, I don't even know how I got here. Like, it's just automatic. So that would be an alpha state of mind. And your brain waves at that point are 7 to 14 times per second. So a little bit of a slowing. Then you go into theta. So theta is a meditative state. It's the threshold right before sleep. Your brain waves at that point are 4 to 7 times per minute, or per second rather. So definitely a slowing of the mind. Time seems to kind of not have real solid texture for you at that point. And then you fall into delta rather. So delta would be that deep sleep. So your brain waves at that point are cycling 4 times per second. So significantly slower. So that theta state of mind, again, is the most highly suggestible state. I love the fact that you talk about children 4 to 7 years old, because think of your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, family, friends. In that moment, you have the ability to really impact their thinking of themselves and the world around them, because you're going past the adult mind, we would call it, to the child mind.
Right, and I think that's important for people to understand, because in that state, I mean, that really is where children really pick up a lot of the things they carry with them the rest of their life. You can call it whatever you want, conditioning or whatever it is from their childhood follows them, because they really take that in as so real. It's so real to them in those moments. So tell us then, can I hypnotize myself?
You can, absolutely, you can. Self-hypnosis is a real thing, also called meditation. So for anybody who practices meditation, essentially what you're doing is self-hypnosis. You're just taking your mind and your breath typically to a place of calm and receptivity. If you're doing self-hypnosis or meditation, my hope is that you are going into it with some kind of intention, whether that be to just find a moment of peace or quiet, or maybe you're looking to solve a problem or issue, or just calm your emotions. But going in with an intention is the most beneficial way to experience that.
Yeah, I have a class that I teach, an online class that's called Meditation with Intent. Because
Perfect.
a meditation, in my mind, should be done with intent. People are always, no, you need to clear your mind. You need to get everything out of your head. And I said, well, if you do that, you'll be dead. You cannot get everything out of your head. Yeah, it's impossible.
Right.
Try to sit there quietly. See what happens for a minute, right? Your mind just goes crazy.
Yeah.
And they say, well, it takes forever to get into this meditation. The right meditation say, no, it really doesn't.
It doesn't. And I think we have to acknowledge that meditation probably looks and feels different for everybody. However, it is a practice. The more you do it, the better you get. And thoughts are going to come in. Of course, we're human. It's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to get onions at the grocery store. Okay, let it come in and let it go out. Let it come in and let it go out. Yeah. You don't have to argue with yourself about it. Just allow it to come in and go out.
Then, and like you said, it's different for everybody, and really based on a lot of our conditioning. We've been conditioned for our, whatever you want to call it, monkey mind, to sit there and argue with itself, right? And go, I wonder if I should do this tonight. Oh yeah, no, I shouldn't. And here's why. And then you spend all this time on it where it's like, let it go. Doesn't matter. It's not going to change your life anyway. So who cares? Anyway, back to this just for a minute. Then, so if I can hypnotize myself through meditation, I can obviously change my life, which is what we teach at the Life by Design Institute. But tell us, as a hypnotherapist, and you've been doing it over 20 years, so you tell us the advantage then of having someone like you help me with this practice.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a great question because we do have the ability to do so much of it on our own. I think working with somebody who's professionally trained, first off, teaches you a lot of things. It removes the responsibility from you to have to drive that meditation. So you get to sit back as the passenger and just relax and experience what that is like. You get that guided practice. So you're learning how to breathe, you're learning how to relax your body and your mind. And just having, again, that driver in the seat is super helpful. The other piece that I think it's important for people to understand is when you're working with the theta mind, you are working with that child mind. That's what we call it. So moving the adult mind out of the way, which sometimes takes a trusted person to do so. And sometimes that person isn't you. Sometimes it's somebody else who says, okay, let's just let this go for a minute. Let's just talk to that part of your mind that thinks in emotion and colors and feelings, because that's where the behavioral changes take place.
So then help me understand, like, I told you about my experience going up on stage and I couldn't be hypnotized, right? And I have struggled with other people, but I meditate, I try to use meditation every day in my life. Mm-hmm. So tell me, do you think you could hypnotize me?
I do.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? Help me understand. Why is it that I couldn't be? Mm-hmm. And it's been twice now, I think it's tried, and both times I'm just kind of like, you're silly. This doesn't work.
Right.
To kind of tell me.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it starts with a conversation and a relationship, right? So as a hypnotherapist, we are going to get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to explain to you what to expect, it's okay to have different thoughts. It's okay for you to salivate. It's okay for your eyes to flicker. You're in control the entire time. Sometimes letting people know you can open your eyes at any point. I'm not keeping you in that space. You're allowing me to take you there is all people need to hear to go, oh, okay, I am safe then. I feel like I'm safe. But I think sometimes it's a fear. For me, honestly, when I'm doing meditation with other people, I become very observant with the words they're using, the tone and the language especially. And so I tend to be one of the people like you who I'm like, but I'm paying so much attention to what they're actually saying and trying to catalog it for myself that maybe I'm not enjoying the experience. So it has to be a conscious choice with a trusted partner.
Makes sense. I have a couple of friends that I've worked with over the years that are hypnotists, and one gave me just a little flash drive one time. Said, just watch this. This is a class I teach, right? And I started watching it, and it seemed like he was repeating things a lot to the person, that he was hypnotizing, just like a ton of repetition of, this is what you're doing, this is where you're at, and you're feeling this, and then he kind of go on to, by the time I get to 8, you're going to hear 8, and then he talks some more, and same repetition type stuff, and then 7, and then snaps his fingers, and this person's like, boom, there.
Done.
So is it the repetition to the mind?
I
mean, that's just something I observe, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily the repetition. There's many different styles of meditation or hypnosis. So depending on the process that you're using, I can tell you for anyone who's wanting to explore this, whether it be for self meditation or hypnosis, or with somebody else, is that you typically start with your breath. You typically start with some music in the background that's calming you down. So we're focusing on the breath. Then from there, you go into what's called the induction. And the induction may be where the repetition was coming in for your friend. But it's lots of, at least for me, lots of visualization. Some people are kinesthetic, so they want to feel different things, a slight breeze on their face. Some people are visual, so they see the sun in the sky. So just depending on what your learning style is can contribute to what that experience is for you. And so I try to tailor it to your specific learning style.
So tell us, what can a hypnotherapist do for someone then?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
So primary reasons, I can tell you, a lot of people go to hypnotherapy for weight loss because you're changing the internal behaviors. A lot of people go to a hypnotherapist for smoking cessation, which it's helpful to have somebody in that regard because can you imagine that internal fight, not only with cigarettes, but with food, right? That's a real dilemma and fight for some of us. And then the third piece is stress relief. And stress relief, what does that not encompass, right? From maybe my partner has been cheating on me and I'm having a hard time, working through that emotionally. Maybe I'm having a hard time sleeping. Maybe I have some abuse history in my childhood that I'm just trying to come to grips with, and I need a safe place to do that.
My daughter just moved back in with me. I don't know. Could be anything. Who knows?
We might need a few sessions. No.
So, how long does it last? Like, say I came to you for, say, smoking.
Yes.
And, you were doing hypnotherapy on me for, does it take a lot of sessions for me? Do you just snap your fingers and I never smoke again? Help me.
Yeah, that's a fair question. Definitely. That's a fair question. The more you do it, the better it sticks, obviously. For somebody doing a smoking cessation, it would be usually 3 to 5 sessions. And the expectation isn't that, okay, you're done with your first session, maybe you're smoke-free. Maybe you're not. Maybe you cut down substantially and now you are down to 2 or 3 cigarettes a day, which is a great improvement. And so we go in again and just kind of remove those internal blockages and sabotaging behaviors because really that's what it is.
Okay. So how long does it last then?
How long does the
session? So I go through this process with you and a few weeks later I've cut way back or I'm not really smoking anymore. Does it last forever?
It lasts. So I actually have statistics. You're going to be be surprised by this. Yes. So I'm going to give you some comparisons. So psychoanalysis. So let's say we're going for some kind of trauma event. 600 sessions gives you a 38% recovery rate.
38 sessions.
600 sessions
of psychotherapy.
Of psychoanalysis.
Okay.
Gives you 38% recovery rate.
So this is not hypnotherapy?
Nope, this is psychoanalysis.
Okay.
So behavioral therapy, a different kind of treatment, right. 22 sessions on whatever your stressor is will give you a 72% success rate. So it's increasing, right? 600 sessions, 38%, 22 sessions, 72%. 6 sessions of hypnosis gives you a 93% recovery rate.
Really? So
amazing.
Why are we not using this in
the
mainstream? Look at all the behavioral therapists out there compared to hypnotherapists. They've got to be 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1.
Right.
It's crazy. If that's really if those are the statistics, they're staggering the difference.
And amazing if you can find a medical professional, a psychotherapist that uses hypnosis. Would probably be the best of both worlds, honestly. Brian Weiss, you probably are familiar with Brian Weiss. It's probably my favorite person from the medical profession who does a lot of hypnotherapy. So if you are interested at an elementary level, I would say read Brian Weiss.
That's excellent. So I go through the process. 93%, is that what you said?
93%.
Chance.
Pretty good.
So does that work the same if I'm smoking or if I have an emotional issue that maybe has come from childhood or whatever it happens to be? It works the same.
It does. Yeah. I'll just speak from my personal experience. The smoking and the eating are harder than the childhood trauma, which you would expect it to be the opposite, right?
Yeah, you would think so because one's more of an addictive type of behavior where this is trauma that you've been carrying for a long time. You think that would take a lot of work,
right?
Do you have to try to find those traumas, or do you just deal with whatever? Because if I come to you, I come to you and say, "Gosh, I just can't make any relationship work." Well, it probably is something that happened a long time ago. That's why the relationships don't work. Do you explore that, or do you just deal with the issue at hand?
It's definitely beneficial to explore it. So depending on the comfort level of that person, you may need to do a little bit of digging around and investigating to determine, okay, when did this behavior potentially start? What was going on at your time in your life at that particular time? And sometimes by identifying the issue, it's almost like a string on a bag of dog food, right? Once you get a hold of that string, all you have to do is pull it, and it comes apart.
That makes sense. That's a good analogy, actually. So let me ask you, is there something hypnotherapy doesn't work on?
Ooh, good question. Not that I'm aware of, but I want to be critical about it. So, yeah. So back to the ethical question, right? So if I'm dealing with somebody who maybe is a cluster B personality, right? So those are your narcissists, borderline psychopaths, because inherently they may not recognize some things as bad that we might. That might be a challenge.
But say, how about a physical element of some kind?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we haven't even talked about the physical components, right? People will have surgeries simply with hypnosis, which is amazing to me. So they'll use, have you heard this?
No, you're going to have to explain that just a little bit. You just saw my face go, no, okay, what?
What is this? Yeah, I mean, they are brave people, and I cannot say, even in all my experience, that I maybe would go down that route. But a lot of people use hypnosis to control pain and do it to an extent where they will have, I would say, small surgical procedures, because you don't want to get yourself in a problematic situation. But they will use hypnosis, self-hypnosis, to control pain. So a prime example of that is hypnobirthing, right? So we teach hypnobirthing and using to work with your mind, work with your body, recognize what's going on, remove the fear factor so you don't have, it's called fear, pain, tension syndrome is what it's titled. You can actually, women can have a more pleasant birthing experience. It doesn't mean it's not hard, doesn't mean there's not pressure, but you reframe your thought process around what's happening and give yourself other verbiage and coping mechanisms to process through.
So how about if I had a physical element, say cancer or high blood pressure or whatever it happens to be, what can I use it in that same type of a thing to cure me?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say cure you. This is what I would say. Does it put you in a better emotional state so that you can work with your body instead of against it to recovery? That's probably where I would go with it. But a personal belief is that our mind can do many amazing and wonderful things. Would I slap hypnosis on a cancer patient and say, we're going to cure you, don't go see your doctor? Absolutely not. But would I say, let's support you in this process while your body is healing itself? Absolutely.
I like it. Okay. We've only got about 2.5 minutes left.
Wow, lots we've talked through.
Yeah. So, so if someone wants to learn more about this, where would you recommend they go? How do people find you? If you
Sure.
Those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. So if you want any personal referrals from me or to see me personally, I would just say go to LinkedIn, Ali Conder, A-L-I. Last name is spelled like Ponder with a C, C-O-N. DER. I do have friends in the industry, so depending on where you're located, I can refer you. You can also go online, research people, make sure that they have some experience. They've been doing it professionally for a little bit, and that's what I would suggest.
Okay, excellent. And then anybody that you would recommend specifically? I mean, you talked about Dr. Wise.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Brian Weiss. Isn't he amazing? Yeah. He would be my first go-to for anyone just wanting to learn. And really, he does a great job of making you feel comfortable in that space.
So something real quick for stress. What can someone do?
Breathe.
On their own? Just breathe?
Just breathe. Count of 4 in, hold for 4, count of 8 out, and do it 3 or 4 times.
Say that one more time.
Count of 4 in,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Slower though. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then slowly exhale.
Awesome.
And repeat.
And put some good intent in your mind while you do it, not whatever you're worried about in the day. If you're trying to get rid of stress, don't sit there and think about all the things that are causing you stress.
Perfect. Yep.
Put something good into your head.
Focus on a flower.
Absolutely. We got about a minute left. I just want to tell everybody where they can find me real quick. You can find me at lifebydesign.institute. Or on Facebook at Spiritual Revolution Radio, or at spiritualrevolutionradio.com. If you want to be a guest, you can go there and send me a quick note, and I'll get you on the schedule for being on the show. And also, I just want to mention that if you go to find me on Facebook under Spiritual Revolution Radio or Life by Design Institute, I have a new private group that I put together. that I'm inviting people to that want to learn more about the things we talk about, want to actually put some of these things into practice. I have several free classes that I've started to put into that private group. So definitely go to my Facebook page, Life by Design Institute, and find me. Thank you, everybody. I had a blast today. Thank you, Allie. It was awesome, and thanks for coming in the studio with me.
My pleasure.
Love and peace, everyone. Have a great day.
This has been Spiritual Revolution Radio with Dr. Will Miller. For more information or to be a guest, please visit lifebydesign.institute. Join us next week for another edition of Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller. This has been a production from a podcast studio.